Okay, so, today we're diving into this list you sent. 14 things to stop doing to feel more free.
Yeah.
It's from which we won't try to explain. But just looking at the points here, some of them are like super relatable. Just bam, I get it. And others are more like, gonna need to sit with that one for a bit.
It's interesting how these ideas, even coming from a very specific background, and still they kind of tap into something universal, right? Like who doesn't want to feel more free, lighter, more themselves?
Absolutely. And the list jumps right in talking about empathy. Now, empathy, that's good, right? We're supposed to be empathetic.
Okay.
But this list makes the case that it can actually kind of backfire, hold us back. They even use this analogy, like imagine a sponge. You keep pouring water on it, eventually gets so saturated it can't absorb anymore, starts dripping, falls apart. Is that what we want our freedom to be like?
That's a great point. It's not about, shutting off your emotions, becoming some kind of robot. It's about realizing that you can't take on everyone else's pain all the time. That kind of unlimited empathy, it leads to burnout. Compassion fatigue, they even call it.
Right.
Setting boundaries, that's not selfish, it's self-preservation. You can still care deeply for others, but you don't have to carry the weight of the entire world on your shoulders.
Yeah. Which brings us to, I think, one that's especially relevant nowadays.
Yeah.
This whole thing of not doing everything yourself. It's like, I don't know, society expects us to be superheroes or something, juggling all these different things perfectly at all times. Listener, I bet you can relate to this.
Oh, for sure. Everyone feels that pressure. And, that's where delegation becomes key. Prioritization. It's about recognizing that we literally can't do it all and accepting that that's not a weakness. So what really matters? What are your top priorities? Focus your energy there. Delegate what you can and let go of the rest.
This reminds me of this. Well, it wasn't FUNNY at the time, but looking back, I was stuck in this job that, like, everyone expected me to take. Good for the resume, all that. But it was making me miserable. And it took me forever, but finally quitting, finding work that was actually aligned with my values, it was like this huge weight lifted.
You hit on a key point there. It's not just about, like, hating your job. It's about how much of our identity gets tied up in what we do.
Yeah.
If that work doesn't resonate with who you are at your core, it's going to feel like a cage eventually.
And speaking of cages, this next one has me trapped sometimes. Perfectionism.
Oh, yeah.
Listener, I'm picturing you here. Maybe you're a high achiever, always going for the gold star, the A+, but secretly it's exhausting.
It's such a trap. It masquerades as, ambition, striving for excellence. But what the list is pointing out is that whole need for everything to be flawless, it actually blocks us from the joy we're chasing.
Right.
We get so focused on the perfect outcome, we never even start. Or we're constantly tweaking, never feeling like it's good enough to share. It's procrastination. It's fear of judgment. Embracing good enough, that's almost revolutionary because it breaks that spell.
It's like you're so terrified of messing up the masterpiece that you never actually start painting.
Exactly.
Which maybe this ties into the next one, about sharing. Not just happiness, but sadness too. I once overshared this super sad story. It was awkward, not my finest moment. But you know what? My friend didn't judge, they just listened. And that felt way more freeing than hiding it all inside.
That's the power of connection. We often think of freedom as this solo thing, but bottling up all your emotions, especially the tough ones, that's isolating. Sharing them, even imperfectly, with people you trust, it lightens the burden. It's not weakness, it's how we process, how we gain perspective.
This makes me think of the marathon analogy. I'm a terrible runner, always burn out way too quick. But it's like we do that in life too, go full speed until we crash and burn. And this one is like, hey, slow down, pace yourself. There's no finish line for happiness.
I love that. It's about mindfulness, being present in each moment, checking in with ourselves. Are we pushing ourselves out of genuine need or just because we're addicted to that feeling of being busy? Freedom isn't just about doing more. It's about knowing when to rest, when to refill the tank.
So much better than worrying, which is what was called out next. Listener, how much of your day is spent fretting over things that might happen that you can't control anyway? That's not freedom. That's a mental prison.
Right. And the list isn't saying be completely carefree, oblivious to everything. It's about recognizing that worry rarely solves anything. Instead, shift your focus to what can I control right now? What brings me peace? That's where your power lies.
Speaking of finding your power, this next point about finding your passion is something that I get so inspired by people who discover what they love later in life. Like, it's never too late to unlock that part of yourself.
It's encouraging, isn't it? It challenges that whole fixed mindset of, this is who I am and that's it.
Hmm.
The list is saying, stay curious, experiment. Maybe you haven't found your passion yet because you haven't looked in the right places.
And even if you stumble while you're searching, it's okay. The next point is all about falling and getting back up.
Oh yeah, love this one.
It's like, think about learning to ride a bike. You're going to fall, probably a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But you don't just give up, right? You get back on, try again.
Life is full of stumbles. This point isn't about avoiding them. It's about reframing our relationship with failure. Each fall is data. It teaches you something. Resilience, that's true freedom. Not the absence of hardship, but the ability to navigate it.
Which actually leads perfectly into daring to fail. I think about, like, entrepreneurs. They're constantly testing things out, knowing some ideas will flop. But that's how they find the breakthroughs.
Exactly. It's about shifting from a fear of failure to a curiosity about it. Like, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I adjust? This point is all about challenging that play it safe mentality.
Yeah.
Because true freedom, it often lies on the other side of your comfort zone.
Which I guess takes a certain level of, I don't know, selflessness. Because the next point is about not expecting something in return for everything you do. It's like, are we keeping score in our relationships? I did this for you, now you owe me. That's not freedom, that's a transaction.
So well put. It's about recognizing that genuine connection, it's not a balance sheet. You know, imagine helping a colleague not because you want something back, but just because it felt right. Listener, think about a time someone did something kind for you, no strings attached. How did that feel? That's the energy we're talking about here.
It makes me think of this time. I saw this random act of kindness, someone helping. A total stranger, just out of the blue. No expectation of anything in return, just pure generosity. It was really heartwarming, and it made me think about how often I hold back from doing the same.
Sometimes that generosity is about admitting that, hey, we don't have all the answers. The list reminds us that none of us know everything, and pretending we do, well, that's a surefire way to stay stuck.
It's like admitting, I don't know, it opens up this space for learning something new. And it invites other people to be vulnerable too, to share their own not knowing. Suddenly, it's not about being the expert, it's about exploring together.
Exactly. And that exploration, it's way more fulfilling than complaining, which is what the list tackles next. And it's not about suppressing genuine concerns. It's about recognizing how chronic complaining, it keeps us stuck in this cycle of negativity.
It's like a broken record. Nobody wants to listen to it, including ourselves. Listener, think about it. Does complaining actually solve the problem? Or does it just make you feel worse?
Often it's the latter. Complaining, it can become a habit, even a way of seeking validation. But this point encourages us to shift from venting to problem solving. What can you control? What solutions can you brainstorm? That's where freedom lies.
And finally, we reach credibility. In a world where it feels like everyone's spinning their own narrative, authenticity and integrity, they really stand out.
Absolutely. The list highlights how credibility isn't just about outward appearances. It's about the foundation of trust we build. Through our actions, our honesty, our commitment to ethical behavior. When we're true to ourselves and others, that's where real freedom shines through.
Wow, what a journey through these 14 points. It's like a roadmap to a more authentic, unburdened life. And so much of it comes back to self-awareness, managing our inner world, and consciously choosing how we show up.
It really does. So listener, as we wrap up, here's a question for you to ponder. Which of these points resonated most deeply with you? And what's one small step you can take today to incorporate it into your life?
That is a great question to leave you with. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it sparks some insightful reflections. Until next time.